my lovies. I wanted to come on here and talk about the universal laws, specifically the 7 foundational universal laws, which are my favorite because they basically give you a foundation of all of the universal laws. No one created them. They're kind of intuitively known, instinctively known. They're laws that govern everyone, all mankind, the universe, everything that we perceive, everything that we see. They trump land laws, they trump man-made laws, they govern everyone. So of course I wrote a book. I did a workbook consisting of or explaining these 7 universal laws. So if you have not purchased that book or the workbook, I would highly recommend you do that, because not only do I talk about the 7 foundational universal laws in the workbook, I also give a lot of writing prompts and guide work on how you can apply those universal laws to your life so that you can be in tune with your higher self, be in tune with your truest self. All right, so let's talk about the first universal law, which is the law of mentalism, which basically says everything is mental, the all is mind, or the all is mind, everything is mental, which basically means that everything that we perceive in our reality was once created in our mind first. So we are all spiritual beings. Whether you like to believe it or not, we are all spiritual beings, which means that we are made up of 3 parts. We're made up of our mind, our body, and our soul or our spirit. So our body is, our physical, what we perceive as reality. This is just a meat suit that we're walking around in. Our spirit is our soul. That's actually our truest self, our what people like to call our higher self. Basically, our body is the car and our soul is the thing that's driving it. And then our mind is what we perceive to be reality. Where did the Wright brothers fly first? In their mind, which means that they had to come up with the concept, they had to come up with the idea first in order to actually make it into an actual physical reality. So everything that we perceive to be real is created in our mind, and that is why our mind is one of the most important things that we have to learn how to control. Our mind is made up of 2 parts, the subconscious and the conscious. So you have your conscious mind, and that's the one that we can tap into the easiest. This is the one that we understand. This is the one that we hear our thoughts or we talk to ourselves. That's our conscious mind. That's the one that's awake all the time. Then you have your subconscious mind. It's working in the background, I guess, if you want to say. Our subconscious mind creates our instincts. It creates our natural reaction to things. All right, so the second universal law is the law of correspondence. As above, so below, as within, so without. So basically, this is saying that whatever is happening here on this physical realm is also happening in the spiritual realm. Believe it or not, like I said, we are just physical bodies. There is an actual soul that resides in most of us. There's probably zombies out here walking around that don't have no soul. Once our physical bodies actually die off, and once we die and our physical bodies no longer exist, our soul will continue and it will go onto the spiritual realm. As above, so below. Whatever you're doing on this physical realm is also happening in the spiritual realms. So really just think about the law of correspondence as like a communication between the physical world and the spiritual world. So again, whatever you're doing down here is reflected up there, or I'm not going to say up there because that's kind of like a perception thing. There is really no up there. It's just another realm. So whatever you're doing in this physical realm is also being done in the spiritual realm. And so if we think about it, like our ancestors that have passed away, their souls continue, of course, they're in the spiritual realm and they are feeling that energy that you're giving off in this physical world. And so when people say they have demons, they have bad spirits following them or things like that, that's because you are demonic probably in this physical realm and you are corresponding or you're communicating with that spiritual realm unbeknownst to you and giving off that energy, and that energy is being brought back right to you. So that brings me right into the next law, which is the law of vibration. Everything vibrates, nothing rests. So this is basically, all right, so when we think about, I'm going to take you back to science class. Everything is made up of energy. Atoms, the smallest building block of, whatever your science teacher said, atoms are made up of energy. Energy is nothing but vibration. So everything that we perceive, everything that we feel, everything that we hear, it's nothing but energy. Every emotion that you feel, everything that you hear, everything is a vibration. So whatever you're putting into your body, it's going to give out that same type of energy. All right, so the next law is the law of polarity. This is actually my favorite law. Things that are opposite are just two extremes of the same type of energy. Happiness, sadness, anger. What's the opposite of anger? Not angry. Hot, cold. So basically, you cannot experience something if you have never experienced the opposite of it, or you cannot know something if you've never known the opposite of it. So for you to experience being happy, you will know what it feels to be sad. For you to experience being lonely, you know what it feels like to have company around you, to be embraced by other people. The reason why this is one of my favorite laws is because it's all about balance. No one can be too high all the time or too low all the time. There is going to be balance. It reminds you of being aware. Like, you always have to be aware of the emotions that you're going through. You have to be aware that of the emotion that you're going through, so that you know how to transmute that energy and eventually move from sadness to happiness. The next law is the law of rhythm. So the law of rhythm basically says that everything flows in and out like a pendulum. There's always a pattern to things. So again, the law of polarity is more about, I guess, the awareness of knowing that there's an opposite to whatever emotion that you're going through. The law of rhythm is basically saying that you are going to go through these patterns of life. So you are going to experience lows and highs, lows and highs, lows and highs. Again, the object of life is about balance. All right, so the next law is the law of cause and effect. So basically, every effect has a cause. There's a reason for everything that has happened. I really like this law because it helped me to understand a lot when I was going through healing traumas. Nothing happens to us just because. There's a reason for everything. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe there's a reason for why, someone did something to you, or there's a reason why you ran into a certain person. There's a reason why something is going on in your life. It's up to us to understand why those things are happening. And then, some situations are there to teach you a lesson. Some situations are really just happening to remind you to be grateful, like bring your ass back down to earth. Some situations aren't going to teach you a lesson, but they're still happening for a reason. And maybe the reason is setting you up for something else. Again, it's awareness and understanding what's going on around you. So when you're like in the present moment, when you're aware of things that are happening in your life, you're aware of the things that are constant or consistent in your life, then you can step back and take a look and say, okay, I understand why I ran into so and so at the grocery store. When you start putting the pieces together, it starts to make a pattern. The law of rhythm. Things are happening. The law of vibration. Everything is moving. Nothing rests. Something is always happening. The law of correspondence. The more things that you're doing here, you're communicating to the spiritual realm, and the spiritual realm is sending you opportunities. We're not put on this earth to just be a bump on the wall. We're not put on this earth to just be here and wander aimlessly. Like, things happen for a reason. All right, and then the last universal law is one that I love to talk about because people cannot fathom anything past their perception of this reality. Like they cannot. Anyways, so the last law is the law of gender. The law of gender says that everything has both masculine and feminine energy. This has nothing to do with your anatomy. This has nothing to do with your physical body. This has nothing to do with that. This has absolutely everything to do with energy. Masculine energy is logical. Feminine energy is emotional. Every being, every creature, everything, every object has both masculine and feminine energy. It always reminds me of when I was learning Spanish and how they have masculine and feminine words. I don't even really know how to equate that to what I'm talking about, but it just always reminds me of that. Anyway, Everything has masculine and feminine energy. Again, this has nothing to do with our perceived reality of our physical bodies. Again, these are just meat suits that we incarnated into once we decided to come to planet Earth. I love the law of gender because when you can balance both your masculine and feminine energy, it makes it makes communication with others better. Like your relationships with other people will flourish. You can sustain better relationships with people because you can understand. Not only can you understand, you can have empathy for people, but you can also help solve problems. Like you're not stuck just crying about everything because you're full of feminine energy. You can think logically, like it's balanced, and it's up to you to be able to tap into both of those and use both of those energies to cultivate like healthy relationships with people and with yourself. So to be able to incorporate these 7 foundational universal laws into your life, you have to have a paradigm shift. A paradigm shift is basically changing your perception of reality. Like you have to understand what's real and what isn't, what matters and what doesn't. You have to become aware. Be aware of who you are, not just this physical body, but be aware of the true person that's inside of you. Be aware of your thoughts. Be aware of how your thoughts create your reality. Be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of the energy that's around you, because whatever energy around you is also the energy that's within you. As above, so below, as within, so without. Energy is not created or destroyed, but you have to use that energy to be able to bring in like energy. All right, well, so that's it. Those are the 7 foundational universal laws. I am going to, so also in my workbook, I talked about the 7 chakra system and how they correlate to the 7 foundational universal laws. So I'm going to do another video on that and talk about how each one lines up. I'm also an astrologer, so I have been correlating the not only the 7 universal laws to the chakra system, 7 universal laws to the 7 classical planets. So I'm going to do another video, which I'm really excited about that one. We're going to talk about the correlation between astrology and the 7 foundational universal laws or principles and the chakra system and how they all mix and mingle with each other. All right, well, thank you guys so much for watching. Peace. You know what? My new tagline for now on is going to be 11 light motherfuckers.